Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and just add it to the pile. Ripple's getting sued again. No, this is a different one though. So it's at least we're getting a little variety, right? Normally it's the regular, like unsophisticated mouth-breathing troglodytes that think that XRP is a security and that Ripple's selling unregistered securities. Normally it's that. This one, at least we're getting a different flavor, right? And so here's a story from xrparcade.com. Ripple sued by NPP, Australia, over Trademark. And it has to do with this. You guys remember Pay ID? I'm going to do a brief refresher on this because there's always new people coming on board. Some people won't have heard of this, and then others could probably use a refresher anyway. But here's a piece also from xrparcade.com. This is from June 18th, 2020. Ripple-led payments coalition aims to standardize payments, and this is what ultimately triggered it. There you go. And I'm a business owner, and I started my company 10 years ago, right? We had our 10-year anniversary earlier this year. And I remember when I was starting it, I was speaking with my uncle, who started a company a long time ago, became very successful, has got manufacturing facilities around the planet, this and that. And he told me, he's like, if you stay in business long enough, somebody is going to sue you. Like, it just happens. Like, you're going to be a target for this or that reason, whatever it is. And it's a lot of times it's going to be bogus stuff anyway. But if you get big enough and you draw enough attention, you're going to get sued if you're a business here. And so I couldn't help but think of that as I was reading this headline from xrparcade.com here. I've also got this story I want to share with you. It's unrelated, but I just found it interesting, from Daily Hodl. So I'll be sharing with you this towards the later half of the video. Federal Reserve quietly experimenting with digital dollars, says a report. Well, how about that? Because we've been talking about this on the channel a bit, about how China's been moving forward with their central bank digital currency, the digital yuan. Well, the United States looks like they're cooking up a little something here. This is the first I had heard on this topic at all. I mean, other than just pure speculation, conjecture about, United States will probably do it, right? Other than that, so this is the first time I saw an article like, a report linking this, huh? So we shall see. Now, before going any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, I would definitely appreciate the support. And also go ahead and get down with your bad self by subscribing to the Moon Lambo channel. Don't cost nothing, son. So Pay ID, how about this? Let's just a real quick refresher here. Basically what they're trying to do is make it as easy to move money as it is to send an email. It's kind of like it sounds like on the surface, the concept of the Internet of Value, which it really is just that, like being able to move money around the planet as easy as it is to send an email. But this is like a material step towards that, actually. And so on June 18th, leading technology, finance, and nonprofit companies joined forces to announce the launch of Pay ID, a universal payment ID to simplify the process of sending and receiving money globally across any payment network and any currency. GoPay, Ripple, Blockchain.com, BitPay, Brave, Flutterwave, Mercy Corps, and others collaborated on the development of PayID through the Open Payments Coalition, which is the multinational alliance of industry leaders. And you can see there's a whole list on the screen right now of all sorts of partners that are in from day one. And so let me just jump down a little bit because I just wanted to cover the high-level parts to make sure that we're kind of getting the, get the meat and potatoes, as they say, right, of what this thing actually does here. You want to go a little bit further? Yeah, here we go. PayID allows individuals to send and receive money across any payment network using an easy-to-read address versus one that's awkward and unintuitive, such as a bank account, routing, or credit card number. Most have experienced the frustration and inconvenience of sending money between different bank accounts or payment apps. With PayID, sending money is as simple as sending an email directly to friends and family, no matter which provider is used. And so you can see, here's what it would look like. So, use the @ symbol for email. Well, here's an example. It's alice$example.com. This is what they have written on the screen right here. And it should be that easy, and that's what they're talking about. And it is interesting, indeed, that if you think about it, there really is a substantial lack of interoperability between different platforms. Even consider Venmo and PayPal. One owns the other. Maybe it's PayPal that owns Venmo. Maybe I had that backwards. But the point is, it's the same ownership. And those platforms, though under the same ownership, do not interoperate. They absolutely do not. You can't send money from one to the other. This is a step in the direction of making things much more interoperable. And so they think that it would be a benefit to RippleNet. I'm not going to get into it any further because that's not the purpose of this video. I just want to make sure that you guys knew what this was so that when we get into the actual lawsuit here, you have the framework of understanding to a reasonable degree why this is potentially a problem here. So let's jump in. Again, this one's titled Ripple Sued by NPP Australia Over Trademark. NPP Australia Ltd, the industry-wide payments platform for Australia, filed a lawsuit against Ripple Labs on August 20th over a trademark. And you can see here's a tweet from somebody named Rohan Pierce. It's NPP Australia, the operator of the new payments platform, appears to be suing Ripple Labs in an IP case. Now, the lawsuit has been filed at the New South Wales Registry in the Federal Court of Australia. And he's got some supporting documents just kind of proving, yep, this is what's actually happening. Leonidas, who runs XRParcade.com, let's just say he does his homework, right? He wants to have his ducks in a row. I really appreciate it. He did a great job. But anyway, the lawsuit has been filed in relation to a trademark, possibly regarding Ripple's recently launched PayID, a universal payment ID to simplify the process of sending and receiving money globally across any payment network and any currency. Ripple released PayID on June 18th, 2020, more than 2 years after NPP launched its own PayID in February 2018. The first hearing for the case has been set for Wednesday, August 26th. Ripple is also being accused of fraud and the sale of unregistered securities in the United States and California. Ripple's motion to dismiss the fraud allegations has been taken under submission by the court, and a decision could be reached soon. And that story I did cover that just the other day here. And so I remember the day that PayID was announced, I was like, oh, this is pretty exciting. I remember reading through it, and then I remember going through my Twitter feed, and there were some people that shared, guys, this isn't anything new. PayID's been around for at least a couple years. Yeah, here, look, it's getting used in Australia. And I remember seeing that and be like, what? What's that? And I was like, that can't be the same thing. And it wasn't, obviously, but it was the same name. So people were like Googling PayID, and then PayID operating in Australia was popping up, and it was understandably confusing people. It's the same damn name here. So to what degree it's going to be, and by the way, even like functionally what it does, it's just close enough that like the same name, and there are differences, but still, it's so funny like that they're that close, they're that closely related. I mean, and still obviously completely different entities that created both. And I can completely understand why people, when they were researching, it's like, what the hell? This has been out for some time. No, it has not been out for some time. It's still brand new here, and they're working on actually having it adopted in some sort of meaningful way here. So as far as the legal implications, well, I don't have a legal background, so don't know. I know that there are legal professionals that listen to the Moon Lambo channel. So if anybody has a hot take on that, got any insight, I would be happy to share that in a future video while giving you credit. Just let me know if you have any particular insight. But given that this isn't all domestic here. You're talking about, to some degree, presumably, it's got to be international law that's coming into play here, because Ripple is in the United States, in San Francisco, and then this company's coming from Australia. So there's always ways to work this all out, but I don't know what this is going to look like. I can tell you this, I can't imagine that there would have been any sort of intent for Ripple to, even like, and I'm not saying Ripple's in the wrong or the right, I'm saying I don't know, but even if they were in the wrong, I don't believe for a moment that they would intentionally do something that they know is not right. So why would they? They're like, you just pick a different name then. Like if it were actually, you know what I mean? So I can't see that. All right, on to the next piece now from Daily Hodl. Federal Reserve quietly experimenting with digital dollar. Report. Yes, tell me more. The Federal Reserve appears to be keeping new research on a digital version of the U.S. dollar under wraps. Yet here I am telling you about it. According to Bloomberg, the Fed is already doing its homework as it conducts tests on a hypothetical digital dollar. In addition, researchers from the Boston Federal Reserve and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology are committed to creating and trying out the digital asset that's designed for the use of the central bank. Says Federal Reserve Board Governor Lyle Brainerd, quote, "Lessons from this collaboration will be published, and any codebase that is developed through this effort will be offered as open source software for anyone to use for experimentation." Now, James Kuna, An executive at the Boston Fed says the initial stage of the project involves the development of the engine and the software that will power the digital asset. Acuna says that due to the size of the United States, the digital version of the dollar may present numerous challenges, including transaction volume, security, and privacy. Acuna notes that the research team building the system is not concerned whether banks will act as intermediaries, an issue that might be noticed by policymakers later on. And here's a quote, "We want to build it such that everything is possible." Yeah, well, that will be a concern for the intermediaries because you're taking their piece of the pie. And still, if it's better, then it's better. I would rather have as few intermediaries as possible, right? That's part of the promise of a blockchain is it removes middlemen, right? That's part of it, right? But if you think about it, the way, and I mentioned this in a video just the other day, it's just funny it's coming up in here again, but the way that you can conduct transactions without a central authority in the United States, you can do it by using paper money. But if you want to use a debit card or a credit card, it's requiring a central authority. So now you're talking about having a digital representation of the dollar that doesn't require that. Yeah, there are going to be financial institutions that have beef with that. And again, and I mentioned this too the other day, I don't believe for a second this means that credit cards are going the way of the dodo, my favorite extinct avian creature. I don't believe that because people are always going to want to have the opportunity to take on credit. There's all sorts of reasons that there will be middlemen. I'm just saying that there could be reasonable instances where they could be removed, and I don't think those middlemen want to be removed whether or not it's good for you. That's all I'm saying. So there we go. So we'll see. I will not be surprised if the United States does have a digital dollar in the future. In fact, if I had to guess right now on the spot, I'd say yes, it will happen. I don't know how long. I'm not going to even guess what a timeline would be like this. The government is notoriously inefficient. That's the most polite thing I could say on that topic. Notoriously inefficient here. But I think you're going to see central bank digital currencies the world over. It won't just be the United States dollar. So interesting times we live in. Right? Is it not? That's it for this hot jam. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.